Observe the students in your classroom. They share many traits, but they do not look exactly the same. Some traits can be inherited, such as eye color and face shape. Inherited traits are passed on from parents to offspring by genetic material. Other traits, such as language and musical taste, are determined by the environment. However, most traits are influenced by both genetic and environmental factors. Each person has a unique combination of many traits. The genetic material in organisms is DNA. It is a double-stranded molecule organized into structures called chromosomes. In organisms that reproduce sexually, cells have pairs of chromosomes. The offspring receives one chromosome from each of the two parents. A DNA molecule contains the information that determines the traits that an organism inherits. DNA also contains the instructions for an organism's growth and development. So DNA are like the instructions for how to build all the different parts that make up you, and you find this DNA inside of each and every single one of your cells. Each side or strand of DNA is a chain of building blocks called nucleotides. These repeating chemical units join together to form a DNA molecule. One part of the nucleotide is called the base. There are 4 different nucleotides in DNA, which are identified by their bases. Adenine, represented by a capital A, guanine, represented by a capital G, cytosine, which is represented with a capital C, and thymine, which is represented by a capital T. Where the two strands connect, A always pairs with T, and G always pairs with C. These paired bases fit together like the pieces of a puzzle. Combinations of alphabet letters make meaningful words. Likewise, combination of DNA base pairs make genetic words called genes. A gene is a specific segment of DNA that provides instructions for an inherited trait. Each gene has a starting point and an ending point. DNA is read in one direction, just as you read words from left to right. Genes are responsible for the inherited traits of an organism. Organisms that reproduce sexually have 2 versions of the same gene for every trait, one version from each parent. So DNA is like the book of instructions, and genes are kind of like the individual instructions that you go to build the different parts of you. You go to one section of DNA to determine your hair color. You go to a different section of DNA to determine if that hair is going to be curly or straight. A protein is an important molecule that is needed to build and repair body structures and to control processes in the body. Proteins are made up of smaller molecules called amino acids. About 20 different kinds of amino acids combine to make proteins. A specific sequence of 3 bases on a gene codes for a specific amino acid. These sequences are called triplets. The chain of amino acids produced by a gene depends on the order of the triplets. In this way, the genes of a chromosome carry the instructions for the proteins that are made by cells. So your instructions tell you to build these little pieces, right? And those are called amino acids. And you put enough amino acids together and you can build a protein. So how do you know which amino acid? That's what the triplet is for. Now, depending on what order the triplet is, that changes what kind of protein you end up making. Once built, the amino acid chain twists and folds to form a protein's 3-dimensional shape. A protein shape is linked to its function. For example, collagen is a protein that folds into a long fiber-like chain. It strengthens skin. Other proteins called hormones deliver messages to cells by fitting into specific locations on target cells, like a key in a lock. So your proteins are kind of like three-dimensionally folded and twisted and shaped ribbons. And they're so small that you can kind of put these together to form any shape, and that makes up every single aspect of your body, both inside and outside. Different versions of the same gene can result in proteins with different structures and properties. Proteins do much of the chemical work inside of cells, so they are largely responsible for traits. The variety in proteins results in the variety of traits we see in organisms. For example, Labrador retrievers are dogs that show a variety of coat colors. The coat will be brown or black depending on which protein is coded for in the pigment gene. When a different protein inactivates the brown or black coat pigment gene, Labradors end up with a yellow coat.